The secret to picking 10 sweet and delicious watermelons out of 10. Hi everyone, it's Tracy here. Is there anyone here who never knows how to pick a good watermelon that's sweet delicious and has a thin rind whenever you go shopping? If not, let me show you these 5 signs to look for on a watermelon. I guarantee that once you use them, you'll always pick a good one. Be sure to stay until the end, because I'll also share a soft, chewy, and delicious watermelon dessert recipe that's incredibly tempting. Now let's start picking watermelons together. First, there is one very familiar sign that I'd say about 99% of people use when buying watermelons, and that is tapping the watermelon. Many people tap watermelons simply out of habit, or because they see others doing it without really understanding how to tell the difference correctly. The proper way to choose a good watermelon by tapping it is to hold one side of the melon with the palm of your hand, then gently tap the opposite side with your other hand. If you can clearly feel the vibration spreading through the watermelon, that is a sign the melon is ripe. But if you tap it and feel almost no vibration, the watermelon is likely still underripe. You can also use your knuckles to tap it and listen carefully to the sound. If you hear a boom boom sound, the watermelon is perfectly ripe and will taste sweet and crisp. If the sound is more like bup bup, the melon may be overripe, and a sharp cock cock sound is usually a sign of an underripe watermelon. In general, the deeper and more resonant the sound is, the riper the watermelon will be. So listen carefully and learn to tell the difference, so you won't accidentally choose a bad watermelon again. Next, to choose a good watermelon, look at the stripe patterns on the surface of the fruit. Take a close look at the dark green stripes running across the surface. A good watermelon usually has stripes that are dark in color, clear, and even from one side to the other. These clear and noticeable stripes are often a sign that the watermelon had enough time to ripen naturally in the field, which is why the flesh inside is sweeter, juicier, and more delicious. On the other hand, if the stripes look pale, blurry, broken, or uneven, the watermelon may have been picked too early. These watermelons are often less sweet, less juicy, and sometimes taste bland. So when buying watermelon at the market, remember to carefully observe the stripes on the surface so you can choose a delicious one. Besides the method above, you can also look at another spot on the watermelon, which is the yellow patch on the bottom of the fruit. This is the area where the watermelon rested on the ground while growing in the field. If the watermelon has a large yellow patch that is deep yellow in color or slightly orange and clearly visible, that is usually a very good sign. This color indicates that the watermelon ripened naturally in the field and absorbed enough sunlight and nutrients from the soil, so when you eat it, it will be sweet, juicy, and full of flavor. On the other hand, if the bottom spot is white or pale yellow, there is a good chance that the watermelon was picked too early or has not fully ripened yet. When eaten, it may taste bland, dry, and lack its characteristic flavor. So when buying watermelon, don't forget to turn it over and check this yellow patch carefully. Another sign to help you choose a good watermelon is checking the belly button. It is usually located at the bottom of the watermelon near the yellow spot mentioned earlier. When buying a watermelon, turn it over and pay attention to the belly button. If the belly button is small and tightly closed, that is a sign the watermelon is fully ripe. The flesh inside has expanded evenly, so the rind will be thinner and easier to eat. Watermelons like this are usually naturally ripened sweeter and much juicier. On the other hand, if you see a large belly button that looks slightly swollen or has openings, be careful. There is a good chance that the watermelon was not fully ripe yet, or may have been treated with chemicals to speed up the ripening process. These watermelons often taste bland, lack that characteristic sweet aroma, and may even have a spongy or mealy texture inside. So don't skip this step when choosing a watermelon. Finally, here's a very simple method. Use your hands like a scale to measure the weight of the watermelon. If you are trying to choose between two watermelons that are about the same size, and you don't know which one will be sweeter, then try using your hands as a scale. You can lift each watermelon one at a time to compare them. The one that feels heavier is usually the juicier watermelon with denser flesh and more even ripening. This is a very clear sign that the watermelon will be sweet and delicious. On the other hand, if a watermelon feels lighter than it looks, there is a high chance that the inside is spongy dry or not very sweet. If the watermelons are not too large, try holding one in each hand at the same time to compare them directly. The one that feels heavier and more solid in your hands is usually the better watermelon. I learned this trick from actual watermelon farmers. They can tell which watermelon is sweet just by lifting it slightly without even cutting it open. I often use this method whenever I buy watermelons, and it gives me extremely good results. Those are the 5 simple ways to choose a good watermelon. A good watermelon should have all the signs: a curled and slightly dried stem, a large yellow spot on the rind that is deep and rich in color, a small belly button, and especially a clear sound and solid feel when tapped. Finally, it will usually feel heavier when tested by hand. To check the accuracy, cut open the watermelon you think is the best one and see what it looks like inside. Wow! When I cut this watermelon in half, the flesh is bright red and so juicy that the juice is even running onto the cutting board. Let me try a piece. It's truly amazing, incredibly sweet, crisp and juicy, exactly as I predicted. And now you know how to choose a good watermelon. Since we still have watermelon here, I'll show you how to make a soft, chewy, and delicious watermelon dessert that is perfect as a cool and refreshing treat. First, cut the watermelon into small pieces, then place them into a blender or fruit juicer to extract the juice. Strain it to keep only the smooth watermelon juice. For this recipe, you will need about 100 milliliters of watermelon juice. Pour the juice into a bowl, then add about 150 grams of glutinous rice flour, 45 grams of cornstarch, 20 grams of cooking oil, and 20 grams of sugar. Mix everything well until the mixture becomes smooth and slightly thick with no lumps remaining. Next, pour the mixture into a non-stick pan and cook over low heat while stirring continuously. Keep stirring until the mixture is fully cooked, soft, stretchy, and forms into one smooth dough. Transfer the mixture onto a plate and tightly cover the surface with plastic wrap to prevent the cake from drying out. Place it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes so the mixture can firm up slightly. After chilling, sprinkle a little dry flour on the surface, then cut it into pieces and enjoy. The cake has a soft, chewy, slightly stretchy texture and a naturally sweet flavor with the fresh taste of watermelon. I often make this whenever I buy a really good watermelon. Save this recipe now and try making it for your family to enjoy. And that's how you can confidently choose a sweet, juicy watermelon and turn it into a soft, refreshing dessert at home. Once you remember these simple signs, buying watermelon will become easier and more reliable every time. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more easy kitchen tips and simple recipes. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again next time.